Welcome to Books in a Podcast. Ever catch yourself really trying to figure out what someone's thinking, even when their words are saying something totally different?
Oh, yeah, all the time. It's like you get that feeling something's not quite adding up.
Exactly. It's like trying to decode a secret message. That friend who gives you a tight smile,
Mm.
or a coworker with those shifty eyes.
You just know there's more going on beneath the surface.
Absolutely. So today, we're going to give you some tools, and these are surprisingly simple, to help you understand that silent language we all use.
We're talking body language, facial expressions, all those little cues that can reveal so much.
It's like getting a glimpse into someone's mind, right?
Exactly. And to guide us on this deep dive, we're turning to Henrik Fexeus and his book, The Art of Reading Minds.
Oh, Fexeus, he's fantastic. This book, it's not about some mystical mind-reading stuff.
No. It's super practical. Fexeus breaks down how to read those subtle, often unconscious signals our bodies and voices are constantly sending out.
Right, like a blueprint for understanding those hidden messages.
Hmm.
And our mission today is to pull out the most useful, actionable techniques from Fexeus's work.
So you can actually use them in your everyday life.
We want to equip you with the ability to read people better,
Yeah.
to understand what's really going on beneath those words and actions.
Because, let's face it, sometimes what people say and what they really mean, it can be two totally different things.
No kidding. So where do we start? I mean, Fexeus, he lays down this really important foundation, the connection between our minds and our bodies.
It's like he goes back to that old idea, the one Descartes pushed mind and body are totally separate.
Right, but Fexeus is saying, hold on, that's not the whole story.
Not even close. Your mind and body, that totally intertwined. Your thoughts can directly affect your physical state.
And vice versa.
Exactly. And that's crucial for understanding this whole nonverbal communication thing.
Because, like Fexeus points out, our thoughts and feelings, they aren't just abstract things happening in our heads. They have real physical effects on us.
Think about it. When you experience joy, your brain releases endorphins. Your heart rate might increase.
Right. Or when you feel anxious, your breathing gets shallow and rapid.
It's like your body's always reacting, always mirroring what's going on inside.
In Fexeus, he has this super simple demonstration that proves this mind-body link. I remember trying it myself, and it was like, whoa.
Oh, yeah, the jaw clench, right?
Yeah. You clench your jaw, lower your eyebrows, stare straight ahead, clench your fist, hold it for like 10 seconds.
It's amazing. Just by doing that, you can actually start to feel a little surge of anger.
It's weird, but it works. It's like you're tricking your brain into feeling that emotion by adopting the physical posture associated with it.
So what's the takeaway here? Our bodies are constantly communicating, even when we're not saying a word.
And Fexeus, he's really clear about this. He says the majority of communication between people, it's nonverbal.
Through our body language, facial expressions, tone of voice.
It's like we're sending out these signals all the time. And often we're not even aware of it.
That's the thing. So much of this nonverbal communication, it happens below our conscious radar.
And that's what makes it so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Because it can reveal someone's true feelings, even if their words are saying something else.
Sometimes their body language is telling a totally different story, and that's why tuning in to those nonverbal cues, what you're sending and what you're receiving, is so valuable.
It's like unlocking a secret code. And one of the biggest benefits of this, according to Fexeus, is that it can help you build rapport.
He defines it as a state of mutual trust, consent, cooperativeness, and a sense of openness between people.
You know, when you just click with someone.
Yeah, and when you have that rapport, things just flow more smoothly, whether you're, dealing with your kids, trying to get them to do their chores, or negotiating a big deal at work.
It's like that foundation of trust makes everything easier. And Fexeus, he has this cool technique for building rapport called mirroring.
Mirroring, I love this one. It's basically about subtly reflecting the other person's body language and speech patterns.
You're kind of becoming a mirror image of them, in a way.
Exactly. And the idea is we tend to like people who are similar to us. So when you subtly mirror someone, it sends this unconscious signal, hey, we're on the same wavelength.
And that can really help build trust and connection.
Absolutely. And what's cool is you can mirror on different levels. You can mirror body language, their posture, their gestures. Just do it subtly.
He even suggests like going to a restaurant and just watching people interact. You'll see all sorts of natural mirroring happening.
It's a fun little exercise. Then you have vocal mirroring. Pay attention to how they speak, their tone, the speed, their volume.
Like if they speak really fast, you don't want to be super slow and drawn out.
Right. Fexeus even talks about this study with a sales team, and they found that when salespeople matched the tempo of their clients, their sales went up significantly.
Really? Just from matching tempo?
Yeah, it's crazy, like almost 30%.
Yeah.
It shows you how speaking at someone's natural rhythm can make them feel heard and understood.
Wow, that's powerful stuff. And then you've got linguistic mirroring, adapting to the kind of language they use.
Like their favorite phrases, their slang.
Yeah.
But be careful with slang.
Yeah, you don't want to sound fake. It could also be about mirroring their jargon, if you're in a specific field, how they structure their sentences, even their trance words.
Trance words, what are those?
It's Fexeus's term for those words people use all the time, their little verbal signatures.
I get it. And the key with all this mirroring, it has to be subtle and genuine.
Exactly. If it's forced or over the top, it can backfire big time.
Totally. And Fexeus also mentions physiological mirroring, like trying to sync your breathing with the other person. But that one, it's tricky to pull off naturally.
Yeah, I can imagine. So we've got all these mirroring techniques, but Fexeus also emphasizes that to build real trust, your words and your nonverbal cues need to be aligned.
Meaning, if your words are saying one thing, but your body language is screaming something else, people are going to pick up on that inconsistency.
They might not know exactly what's off, but they'll sense it.
Yeah, like a gut feeling.
And to kind of smooth out those inconsistencies, Fexeus talks about this technique he calls opinion aikido.
Opinion Aikido. Okay, I'm intrigued.
It's the idea that before you try to influence someone or present your own viewpoint, you first find something you genuinely agree with in what they're saying.
So even if you ultimately disagree, you start by finding common ground.
It's like you're redirecting their energy instead of directly opposing it.
Kind of like that martial art where you use your opponent's momentum against them.
Exactly. Fexeus gives the example of Mark Antony's speech at Caesar's funeral.
Oh yeah, where he starts by seemingly agreeing with Brutus, who had just killed Caesar.
But then, very subtly, he turns the crowd against Brutus.
Masterful manipulation. And Fexeus also points out this tiny but important difference in language, using and versus but when you're connecting ideas.
And creates more of a seamless flow, even between contrasting points, while but can feel more adversarial.
It's a subtle shift, but it can make a big difference in how your message is received.
Okay, so we've covered how to build that initial connection and trust.
Laying the groundwork.
Now let's dive into the actual reading of those nonverbal cues. Where do we even start?
Well, Fexeus says one of the first things to pay attention to is where someone's focus is directed.
Like, what are they looking at?
Right. Their eyes, obviously, but even which way their feet are pointing, how their body is angled, it can tell you a lot about where their interest truly lies.
That makes sense. If someone's body is turned away from you, even if they're making eye contact, maybe their mind is somewhere else.
Exactly. And then you've got more specific cues like pupil size.
Pupil size. I didn't realize that was such a big deal.
It's fascinating. Our pupils, they don't just react to light, they also respond to our internal states, our emotions.
Really? So they can reveal how we're feeling.
Yeah. There was this famous study, I think it was by a psychologist named Eckhard Hess. He showed men photos of women, some with dilated pupils, some not. And consistently, they rated the women with dilated pupils as more attractive.
Wow. Even though they weren't consciously aware of the difference in pupil size, it's like a subconscious signal of attraction.
Exactly. Though Fexeus does caution that you got to take into account the lighting. Dim lighting will naturally cause pupils to dilate.
Good point. He also talks about eye accessing cues, or EAC.
EAC. Now that sounds intriguing.
It comes from neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. The basic idea is that our eye movements can give you clues about what kind of information we're accessing in our minds, visual, auditory, or kinesthetic.
Oh, interesting. So like if someone's looking up and to the left, they might be recalling a visual memory.
That's the idea. And up and to the right could mean they're constructing a new image.
So like if you ask someone, what color was your first car? And they look up and to the left, they might be genuinely trying to remember.
Right. And if they look up and to the right, they might be making it up. He also mentions that looking sideways can be linked to accessing auditory information left for remembering sounds, right, for creating them.
And looking down can indicate feelings or internal dialogue.
Exactly. But, Fexeus does acknowledge that the EAC model has been criticized. Some scientists are skeptical.
Yeah, it's not foolproof.
Right. He emphasizes that it's not a lie detector, and the patterns might not be exactly the same for everyone, but he argues that each person tends to have their own consistent way of accessing these sensory modes.
So once you kind of calibrate to an individual's patterns, you can start to gain some insights.
Exactly. He even has this Mona Lisa exercise where you try to recall the image versus imagine a slightly different version. You probably notice you look in different directions. And he talks about using control questions to help you figure out someone's typical eye movement patterns.
Control questions.
Yeah, like asking them to remember something specific and then asking them to imagine something. It helps you get a baseline for how they access different senses.
Ah, clever. And then building on this whole sensory thing, Fexeus talks about the VAK model, visual, auditory, kinesthetic.
Right. The idea that people have a dominant sense through which they experience and process information.
Some people are very visual, others are more auditory, and some are really kinesthetic, focused on feelings and physical sensations.
And this preference, it can show up in the language they use. Fexeus gives all these examples, like a visual person might say, I see what you mean, while an auditory person might say, I hear you.
And a kinesthetic person might say, I feel that's
Yeah.
right.
Exactly. And understanding someone's dominant sense, it can help you communicate with them more effectively.
It's like speaking their language, literally.
He suggests adapting your words, using metaphors that resonate with their dominant sense, even focusing on different aspects of a topic depending on their preference.
And when you're communicating with a group, it's good to incorporate elements that appeal to all three senses.
Use visuals, speak clearly, connect with people's emotions and practical experiences.
Hit all the bases. And you can even ask directly about someone's preference or use those control questions again.
Yeah. He also mentions this connection between sensory preference and tempo. Visual people, they tend to process information quickly. Kinesthetic people are slower, and auditory people are somewhere in between.
And going back to eye movements, Fexeus suggests that if you figured out someone is visual, you can subtly mirror their thought process by moving your eyes in a similar way when they're talking about something visual.
It's like creating this unconscious connection through shared eye movements.
Cool. Okay, so we're getting pretty good at observing all these cues. Now let's talk about emotions.
Emotions, the heart of the matter.
Fexeus says we're constantly broadcasting our emotional states, often without even realizing it.
Our faces, our bodies, they're giving us away all the time.
And it goes back to evolution. Emotions are these rapid, mostly unconscious responses to our environment. They were designed to help us survive.
Like if you see a tiger, you don't stop to think about it, you just react with fear.
Exactly. And he differentiates between emotions, which are short-lived and intense, and moods, which are longer-lasting.
Moods are like the background music. Emotions are the sudden bursts of sound.
Perfect analogy. And whether we're aware of it or not, those emotions are showing up on our faces.
And what's really interesting is that even tiny fleeting changes in our facial expressions can reveal what we're feeling.
Even before we're fully conscious of it ourselves.
He talks about these subtle expressions, slight expressions, partial expressions, and micro expressions.
Micro-expressions, those are the ones that are super fast, like a flash.
Yeah, they can last for just a fraction of a second, but they can betray our true feelings in that instant.
So Fexeus takes us through the 6 basic emotions that are pretty much universal: surprise, sadness, anger, fear, disgust, and contempt. Plus joy, of course.
He goes into detail about the specific muscle movements associated with each emotion. Like surprise, for example, you'll see raised eyebrows, an open mouth, widened eyes.
And a genuine surprise expression is super brief.
If it lingers, it might be fake. Then with sadness, he talks about how the inner corners of the eyebrows draw up and together. He even calls them Woody Allen eyebrows.
Uh-huh. I love that. It's true. It's like that signature Woody Allen look. Plus drooping eyelids and downturned corners of the mouth.
He says that eyebrow movement, it's hard to fake convincingly. So if you see that, it's a pretty good sign of genuine sadness. Then anger often shows up as lowered and drawn together eyebrows, tightened lips, and a very direct gaze.
It's like that glare that could burn a hole through you.
Yeah, it's intense. Fear can manifest as raised eyebrows, especially the center part, raised upper eyelids, tension in the lower eyelids, and either an open mouth or a tense mouth.
So many little details.
I know, it's amazing how much information our faces can convey. Disgust is pretty distinct wrinkled nose, raised upper lip. It's that universal ew expression.
You just smelled something awful. And then contempt. It often shows up as a one-sided lip raise. It's a subtle sneer, almost like a smirk, but with a negative vibe.
Fexeus actually mentions research by John Gottman, who studies relationships, and Gottman found that contempt is one of the most destructive emotions in a relationship. So if you start seeing a lot of contempt, that's a red flag.
Yikes. Better address that. And then, of course, there's joy. The emotion we all love to see. a genuine smile. It's not just about the mouth turning up at the corners.
It's about the eyes. A real smile engages the muscles around the eyes, creating those crow's feet and lifting the cheeks.
It's hard to fake that eye crinkle. That's why they say the eyes are the windows to the soul.
Exactly. Fexeus also talks about mixed emotions, where you might see elements of multiple emotions at once.
It's like life, right? Nothing is ever simple.
And he talks about how to respond to observed emotions. He emphasizes considering the context and the intensity of the emotion. He even tells this funny story about misinterpreting someone's expression as anger when it turned out to be more about their slower processing style.
It's a good reminder that reading emotions isn't always straightforward.
We have to take the whole situation into account. Okay, so one area that always fascinates people is lie detection.
Oh, yeah. Figuring out when someone's being dishonest. Everyone wants to be able to do that.
It's like having a superpower. So Fexeus explains that when someone lies, they're essentially creating two competing messages in their mind, the truth and the lie.
And that creates this internal conflict that can lead to leakage of unconscious cues.
It's like their body betrays them, even though they're trying to control what they're showing.
But he does caution that just because you don't see any obvious signs of leakage doesn't necessarily mean someone is telling the truth.
For absence of evidence is not evidence of absence.
Exactly. And he talks about how people try to control the messages they're projecting, especially on their faces. But they tend to focus more on the lower part of the face, the mouth, the jaw.
While the eyes and eyebrows might reveal more of what they're really feeling.
Interesting. He also debunks that myth that liars avoid eye contact. Some people actually overcompensate and make more eye contact when they're lying.
They're trying too hard.
Right. He suggests paying attention to eye movements in relation to the EAC model we talked about earlier.
Like if their eyes are darting around, it could mean they're actively constructing a lie as they're talking.
Instead of just recalling a true memory.
And then there's body language. Fexeus talks about how our hands can be really revealing.
Mm.
There are emblems. Those are gestures with specific meanings, like a thumbs up. Then there are illustrators, which are gestures that accompany speech, like using your hands to emphasize a point.
Right. And then there are manipulators. Those are the self-touching behaviors, like scratching your nose, rubbing your face, playing with your hair. They can indicate nervousness or discomfort.
Yeah. He also talks about unconscious gestures, like a fleeting shrug or a clenched fist with the middle finger extended. He calls that the proverbial bird.
Uh-huh. I can't believe he actually put that in the book.
I know. It's classic Fexeus. And your posture can be telling, too. Someone who's being deceptive might shrink away, try to create distance.
Or their feet might be pointing towards the door.
Like they're ready to escape. He also points out that we tend to be less conscious of our legs and feet, so they can be more honest indicators of our true intentions.
And then there's that classic feeling of butterflies in the stomach. It can be a physical sign of the tension that comes with lying.
Right. Our bodies just can't hide it.
Yeah.
He also talks about gestural slips, those little repetitive movements like tapping your foot or fiddling with something.
It's like our bodies are trying to release that nervous energy. And then there are changes in vocal patterns. Fexeus says the pitch of someone's voice can go up when they're stressed or lying.
And it can go down when they're sad.
He also talks about how people might use more pauses, ums and ahs, repetitions, longer sentences when they're lying.
It's like their brain is working overtime to create the story.
Exactly. And then language itself can be a clue. He says deceptive people might use distancing language, avoid self-correction, give fewer details, use vague generalizations, or become overly formal in their speech.
It's like they're building a wall of words to hide behind.
Yeah.
But he concludes with a really important point. You can't judge based on a single cue. You have to look for clusters of changes in behavior that deviate from someone's normal baseline.
It's about looking at the whole picture. Okay, so let's switch gears to something a bit more fun, flirting.
Flirting, the universal language of attraction.
So Fexeus calls this section the unconscious pickup artist.
Because we're often not even aware of the signals we're sending out when we're flirting.
It's like our subconscious is doing the work. He talks about this unconscious flirting sequence that usually starts with eye contact. A brief glance, looking away, maybe glancing back again.
He even suggests an exercise. For women, try holding someone's gaze for a little longer than usual and see how they react.
I'm totally trying that. Then comes the showing off plumage stage.
It's like peacocks fanning their feathers.
Exactly. You might adjust your clothes, your hair, stand up straighter, try to look your best.
And then there's the challenge, more direct examination, maybe a slight squint to tilt of the head.
It's like saying, okay, I'm interested. What about you? He also talks about body positioning. facing each other directly can signal more intimacy than being at an angle.
And removing barriers, like uncrossing your legs or taking off your glasses.
Or leaning in.
It's like you're saying, come closer, I want to hear more. He even talks about unconscious caresses, like touching your own neck.
And oral fixation behaviors like chewing on a pen or licking your lips.
It's like we're subconsciously drawing attention to ourselves.
Fascinating. And then finally, there's the art of influence.
Influence, the ability to persuade, to get people to do what you want.
But Fexeus is really clear about using these techniques ethically. It's about helping people, not manipulating them.
He starts by talking about the power of negations. Like if I say, don't think of a blue elephant, what's the first thing that pops into your head?
A blue elephant.
Exactly. It's because our brains don't process negatives as easily as positives. So he suggests focusing on what you do want rather than what you don't want.
State your desired outcome, clearly.
Right. He also talks about how the words we use can shape perception. Like single has a different connotation than divorced, even though they might describe the same situation.
It's about choosing your words carefully. Then he gets into this idea of hidden commands and suggestions embedded in our speech.
Like subliminal messages.
Kind of. He draws on the work of Milton H. Erickson, a pioneer in hypnotherapy.
Hypnotherapy. Now that's getting into mind control territory.
Well, not exactly, but
Yeah.
it's about how our unconscious minds pick up on subtle cues in language. Fexeus cautions against using negative suggestions. Like instead of saying, don't be late, you could say, please arrive on time.
It's about framing it positively.
Right. And he points out that almost any word can act as a suggestion because of our subconscious associations. Think about advertising. They use words and images to trigger specific emotions and desires.
They're masters of persuasion.
And Fexeus emphasizes that the way you structure your speech can actually lead people into specific emotional states. Then he talks about suggestion through implication.
Implication. Like hinting at something without saying it directly.
Exactly. He gives examples like using insinuations, making comparisons without a clear reference point, leaving out information to encourage personal interpretation, using vague generalizations, or employing excessive abstraction.
It's all about getting the other person's mind working in a certain direction. He even tells this story about Martin Borgs, who used body language to get discharged from the hospital early.
No way. How did he do that?
Well, he basically acted as if he was already healthy and ready to go, and the staff kind of unconsciously picked up on those cues.
Wow. It's amazing how powerful our nonverbal communication can be.
Absolutely. And then we get to anchors. This is one of the most fascinating parts of the book, in my opinion.
Anchors, what are those?
It's the idea that you can create an association between a specific stimulus, like a touch, a word, or a gesture, and a specific emotional state.
Like Pavlov's dogs. They learn to associate the sound of a bell with food.
Exactly. And Fexeus gives examples of accidental anchors, like a certain smell that triggers a vivid memory, or a place that's linked to a specific emotion.
I know, certain smells can totally transport me back to my childhood.
He also warns about accidentally creating negative anchors. Like, if you only offer physical comfort when someone is upset, they might start associating touch with negative emotions.
Oh, that's a good point.
And he emphasizes that for an anchor to work, the person needs to be in the desired emotional state when you set the anchor.
So you can't just randomly touch someone and expect it to trigger joy.
He outlines the steps for intentionally creating an anchor first, identify the emotion you want to trigger, then choose a unique anchor, apply it at the peak of the emotion, and then test it to make sure it works. He gives an example of a car salesman using a touch and the word good as an anchor.
Clever. And then he talks about how advertising uses anchors all the time.
Think about those commercials that pair products with images of happiness, excitement, or relaxation. They're trying to anchor those feelings to their brand. He also explains how to prime someone by eliciting the desired emotion before you set the anchor.
So like, if you want to anchor joy, you could tell a joke to get them laughing first.
Exactly. And he even gives examples of phrases you can use to evoke specific emotional memories or imaginative experiences.
Wow, this is getting really deep. And then he ends with some fun demonstrations. The mind reading demonstration, the A bird in hand demonstration, the heavy hand, light hand demonstration, and the pendulum demonstration.
These are like party tricks, but they actually illustrate some of the principles we've been talking about.
It's like magic, but it's based on real psychology.
Exactly. So to wrap it all up, we've covered a ton of ground today. We've explored the mind-body connection, the importance of nonverbal communication, how to build rapport through mirroring, and all sorts of ways to read those subtle cues, facial expressions, eye movements, body language, voice, and language.
We've also talked about the principles of influence and the power of anchoring emotions.
It's like we've given you a whole new set of lenses through which to view your interactions.
And as Fexeus says, developing these skills can lead to a much deeper understanding of the people around us.
Better communication, stronger relationships, and just a more insightful perspective on human behavior.
It's like you can finally understand what people are really thinking and feeling.
So our final thought for you, our listener, start paying attention to the nonverbal world around you. Observe, experiment, and see what you discover.
It's a fascinating journey.
What techniques are you most curious about? How do you think you can apply these insights to your own life? Let us know.
We'd love to hear from you.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
See you next time.
Bye for now.